So I was wearing like Asics and like soccer shorts and a t-shirt. I didn't know you had to bring anything with you. I thought like there were aid stations, which there are. But I went to the pre-race meeting where they told you like how spaced out they are. And I went to one of the like outdoor stores the day before and tried to get a hand bottle, which they were sold out of. So I got a small water bottle and just like taped it to my hand. I did have a crew. It was my mom, who had way less of an idea what was going on than I did, but she was able to meet me at I think mile 15 and then 35. So that was awesome. But she just had a backpack like full of snacks because we didn't know what else we were supposed to be doing.
This is Early Miles, and I'm Steve Gonzer. On this show, we talk to runners, coaches, clinicians, and thinkers about the moments that shaped how they train, how they think, and how they ended up where they are. Early Miles is ad-free and supported by runners who are members of the RunSmart app. RunSmart is a training platform built by physical therapists. If you have an upcoming race or are looking to train and run smart, you can download the RunSmart app from the App Store or Google Play. And now, today's episode. Ann Flowers did not set out to become one of the most dominant ultra runners in the world, and her path to endurance sports was anything but direct. She grew up chasing adventure on family trips to national parks, fell in love with skiing, and only later turned to running. It started with a casual bet with her uncles at the Flying Pig Marathon that she ended up winning in 2016, a moment that would put her on a path to qualify for the Olympic trials in 2020 and much bigger questions about her potential. Years later, balancing life as an ER physician in Colorado with long days in the mountains, that same curiosity carried her into ultras, including her first 50-mile race, which she ultimately won despite being underprepared, and eventually to a record-breaking win in 2025 at her first 100-mile race at Leadville, and a world record at the 50-mile distance at Tunnel Hill. But behind the results is a harder question about how someone keeps showing up at the front of competitive races while also showing up for her patients, long shifts, and work that reaches well beyond the finish line. To understand how she got there, you have to rewind the story back to a childhood shaped by road trips, trailheads, and a quiet pull towards the outdoors.
Yeah, I think I was kind of born into this love for a sense of adventure and love for Western sorts of travels. I grew up in Cincinnati, but both my parents were really active and they worked education schedules. So they were off all of the summer. So we used to spend a lot of our time going to visit national parks and the mountains. I think my dad's favorite place in the world is somewhere between Durango and Ouray, Colorado, so southwest Colorado. We spent a lot of time camping there, but like tent camping out of the van, which was good, and it helped build some stamina and some grit even from an early age. And then I remember in high school I was watching all of the Teton Gravity Research ski movies, and that's what I wanted to do. Was I wanted to get out west for school, and landed in Denver, which was awesome.
Yeah, so when you like those trips, those are all like, do you have siblings?
I do. I have two sisters.
Okay, so is that like all car trips, like 17 hours over to Colorado? And like I have two young kids, like I mentioned earlier.
3 little girls in the back of a van. I think when I was like 8 or 9, we got one of the vans that had a TV in it, which was life-changing.
Fancy.
But yeah, everyone in the van, and then we just headed out west and went from there.
So actually, that'll bring up my first photo that I want to bring up, and you can clarify if this is real or if maybe it's some random family. But is this I assume is from one of those trips? If this is you guys?
Oh yeah, that's me. So that's my mom. It's my older sister standing in the front, and that's me being held. And that's probably our very high-tech tent.
Oh, nice. Is this pre-bus or is this post-TV bus?
Oh, this is very pre. Yeah, my little sister wasn't even a blip on the radar yet. We didn't get the van that had a TV in it until probably, I don't know, late 90s. So yeah, this is probably like 1991, 1992.
Nice. And I heard when I was going through things, is it true that you found like a Hard Rock medal on one of these trips, or like a flag or something?
When we were in like Silverton, Ouray area, we were hiking, and it was late August, so Hard Rock had been over for a month, and there was still one of the metal trail markers that said Hard Rock 100 on it. And after that, I actually bought a book about the Hard Rock 100, and I think I was like middle school, and I think I read it on the way back to Cincinnati.
Do you still have it? Like what you found?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's like crazy foreshadowing as you like go ahead and we talk about Leadville and all these things. But when you guys went out to these parks, you're skiing, you're hiking, you're doing all these things?
Yeah, so winter we would come out to ski about every year to Breckenridge area. And then in the summer, yeah, a lot of hiking and camping and activities like that.
Do you ever talk to I'm just curious from having two young kids, do your parents ever talk about difficulty of that? I'm just imagining loading three girls up in the car, and I have two, and like we can't make it out of the driveway. So like, were they like, you guys like all cohesive, or was it like, oh my God, those times were tough, but they were great? What do they say about it?
It's really funny reflecting with them because I mean it was 30 years ago now. Yeah, my dad's like, we must have been insane, right? Like, why would we drive across the country in blizzards? Inevitably, it was when it used to snow a ton. Drive across the country in blizzards, stay in a hotel, and then have to strap 6 little ski boots onto your feet while each of you have to go to the bathroom at different times. And yeah, it's funny. My older sister actually became a children's ski instructor for about a decade, so it stuck.
That's awesome. I can imagine, I'm just thinking of like, I'm having flashbacks of putting my kids' ski stuff on, and I'm just like pouring sweat, and then you get them all ready, and then like, I got to go to the bathroom. Like, it's just so terrible. But, I think you get through it. And I think what the goal probably with your parents was, is like, if we invest now, when we go skiing as a family, like we're going to be all set. And that's kind of where I'm at with my young kids.
It paid back though. So I lived in Aspen for a while. My older sister lived in Telluride and then Summit County. So when my parents once we were, college age and a little after, they had places to stay in some of the best mountain towns. So it paid dividends for sure.
Yeah. And then you ended up going to Regis University in Denver. Was that a school pick, or was that a location pick? A little bit of both? How'd you end up there?
Geography, absolutely. So I applied to Colorado State, University of Colorado in Boulder, and then a couple other schools. And after affordability and academics and that sort of thing, Regis was the one that fit best for me and my family.
And then for like, just, you're at this point, I think you were playing soccer in high school, and you did not take that to college. Is that correct?
No, I did not play any college sports.
At this point in your life, you're at Regis. I'm assuming you're outdoors a lot. Are you running? Are you doing more hiking? Are you in, like, what's the status of like fitness at that point?
Yeah, I ran a little, but it was mostly just to be fit enough to be able to lead trips, climbing 14ers, going backcountry skiing, doing the high mountain objectives. But yeah, I was starting to run a little more frequently just for something to do. It's sunny 300 days a year in Denver, so it's really easy to get outside and do something active.
I'm in Buffalo, where we have like a 6-month shades of gray, and it's just various shades of gray. And I always my wife and I always talk about, if we're going to move anywhere, it's going to be out west. And I'm like, Denver, like, look at how much sun they get, and you can get warm, and then you can go ski and come back to warm. And it just seems like, I've been there many times, and I love Denver, but we always go to like that days of sun map because we love the mountains as well. And that's always at the top. So after, I think I also read did you take a year in between that and going back to Ohio State, and you were just skiing a lot and things like that?
Yeah, I knew that I wasn't quite ready to give it all away yet. I wasn't ready to leave the mountains and leave that lifestyle. So I was living in the summers in Aspen, and so I decided to live there for a year and defer medical school.
So at some point you come back to Ohio State, and that's where you did your medical school, as far as going to medical school at Ohio State?
I went to Ohio University, but same state,
Ohio University,
just
that's right.
Different university. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, I think this is where there's this gap, right? So you come back to Ohio, and then you run Flying Pig at some point in 2016, which you won. Was it like I'm just gonna sign up and see what happens? Were you formally training? Like, talk me through how you go from taking a year off skiing to winning, the Flying Pig Marathon.
Yeah, I was running more frequently. I was in medical school, so it's kind of a weird time in terms of you have very little time for kind of activities and hobbies, but I knew running was something that was worth the time, even if I had 30 minutes to an hour. And then when I was at Thanksgiving, I think with my mom's family, we were talking about running, and one of my cousins had run marathons, and I was pretty sure that I could run a marathon, so it was almost a bit of like a dare with a couple of my uncles. Like, I think I could run the Flying Pig, and they said, you absolutely cannot. And so I think I signed up shortly thereafter. I think my dad even paid for it.
Did you like formally train for it, or were you just like bringing all the elevation with you and just general fitness and ability, or were you like, no, I had a plan and I executed a plan, or you just jump in this thing and hammer?
I had lost all of my altitude fitness at that time, so I was definitely more of a flatlander. But I read online there was I think it was like 8 weeks to marathon planning. I think at that time I was running probably 5 miles most days, so it wasn't a huge hurdle. But I think my first marathon plan was to do long runs on the weekend. So if I did something like 10, 12, 18, 12 marathon was kind of how I structured things. And I think that's what worked well for me.
Okay. So then you end up actually, let me see if I can pull this one up. These are the next. So you did Flying Pig in 2016. I'm sure you're thrilled about these.
Okay.
2018, you ran Columbus. Let me see if I can get this pulled up here. 2016 to 2018. Let me know when it shows up for you. There's a couple things I noticed here.
Yeah.
In both Flying Pigs, you were very excited. So in 2016, you won. In 2019, you also won, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So in 2018, you ran the Columbus, which is this middle one. I could not find any photos. I could not find anything of this race other than like this finishers video. But you just crushed. There was no arms up. You qualified for the Olympic trials in this run, and you just seemed like you crossed the finish line and were on to the next thing. So like, how did that build go from 2016 to 2018 qualifying for the Olympics? What did that look like?
So I was trying to race at least like 1 or 2 marathons every year. I won the Flying Pig, and then I want to say it was maybe the same year that I won Columbus, and then I did not win Columbus 1 or 2 years after that. So maybe that's the one in the middle.
That is the one in the middle, that really small one.
Yeah, one month apart I ran Columbus and won it, which was incredible. And then a month later I ran Indianapolis, and that's to this day my fastest marathon time.
What was the time there?
2:40.
2:40. And then when you ran the Olympic trials, I think you were at 2:40s there too, 2:44 or something like that.
2:42, 2:44, something like that. Yeah.
And that must have been an experience for you. Like, you're stepping in, and then what's like the average? Do you remember what the average women's time was like at the top of the podium or anything like that?
Oh geez, so that was the last year that the women's qualifying time was much slower. So I think it's now 2:36, but at the time it was like 2:45, I think. So there were a huge women's field. It was also the weekend before the entire world shut down for COVID. So it was the last weekend of February of 2020. But it was such an awesome experience getting to be able to be on the same starting line as people who would go on to win the Olympics. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I just talked to my previous guest, Felicia, and she ran 2:35 in New York City. She's in med school, and she did a lot of Stairmaster and things. And she called it like the real elites. And like, I'm like, you ran a 2:35, and she's like, oh, these are the real elites. When she ran that one at New York City, and then when she's going to the Olympic trials, she's like, those are the real elites. It's still a 2:35, so it's still crazy. When you went to in 2019, I think that was your first ultra. That was Dead Horse 50 miler in Moab. So what I heard, and I don't know if this is lore or what, but you wore your gym shoes, you didn't have a crew, and you won by 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was entirely underprepared for what that was going to be like. But then I've kind of kept that for most other ultras that I've done, as like underprepared, but just really
your gym shoes?
To be there. Yeah. So I was wearing like Asics and like soccer shorts and a t-shirt. I didn't know you had to bring anything with you. I thought like there were aid stations, which there are. But I went to the pre-race meeting where they told you like how spaced out they are. And I went to one of the like outdoor stores the day before and tried to get a hand bottle, which they were sold out of. So I got a small water bottle and just like taped it to my hand. I did have a crew. It was my mom, who had way less of an idea what was going on than I did, but she was able to meet me at, I think, mile 15 and then 35. So that was awesome. But she just had a backpack like full of snacks because we didn't know what else we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So like, when you started that ultra side, I'm sure things have changed quite a bit to, what you're doing now, but like, are you using gels randomly? Do you have like an idea of what you're supposed to take? Or you're like, just give me all the things and I'll just eat what I can eat?
No, I'm far better educated now, but it's really been a development this year because all of the Leadville race series, of which I did all 3 races last year, was sponsored by Never Second. And they're a very intelligent, smart, scientific gel company. So at every aid station, there was Never Second gel, and I knew exactly how many carbs were in each one and exactly how far apart the aid stations were. So after the 50 miler, I had a pretty good plan going into the 100 of what I needed to do to stay fueled, and it worked out phenomenally. I think it worked out to be about 60 to 80 grams of carbs per hour between drink mix and never second gels, and that was about all I ate.
What do you think you What do you think you did carbs per hour? What do you think you did carbs per hour at Dead Horse?
Oh gosh, 30 maybe. It was so bad.
Yeah.
I think I ate like 3 gels for the course of like 8 hours. It was terrible.
I always when it comes to nutrition, it's funny because like ultra is a little different, especially like if you're not going out to win, like it's a eating contest for a lot of people. Like how much fuel can you take in without getting sick? And I had this friend who did Ironmans with us, and I kid you not, he like on the bike would have pizza slices and tinfoil in his jersey. We passed a guy training out in Lake Placid one year, and he had like a hoagie taped to his top tube, and he was doing like long distance cycling. And it just kind of comes back to like how much can you eat and how much fuel can you get in is kind of the name of the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a different experience. Like you don't feel as depleted and tired and lightheaded if you're able to stay on top of nutrition.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Leadville when we get there. You moved to Colorado and Colorado Springs, which is beautiful. I've been there. My first introduction was gas and grass to Colorado Springs. And then it was lock your garbage cans because of bears and mountain lions is the next thing I saw.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, I'm curious. You're still in Colorado Springs now. One of the things one of the funny stories is I know Leadville just had their lottery, but they just closed out. But I'm talking to my friend, we're going out to Utah and we're talking about running and all these things. I'm like, oh, I think I found a course, and I'm in Buffalo, none of your elevation. And I was talking to him like, this is the course. He's like, well, and he's done Leadville twice, 2 or 3 times. And he's like, that route goes up to like 9,000 feet. And in March, if you're going to be in about 100 feet of snow. And so I actually went to Reddit. I'm like, let's see. And they're like, yeah, you can't do that. So I got a bunch of other courses. But when I was out in Colorado, I'm like new to the mountain running. Like when you go out, are you going solo? Are you going with like, are you comfortable running solo through the mountains? And then like, do you have any reservations on wildlife? Everywhere I went, it's like make noise and like there's signs everywhere. So like as this New Yorker coming out, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get eaten out here. Like how are you as a local? Give me some tips.
Yeah, so in Colorado Springs, we get winter, but the snow usually melts in a couple of days. So I go out on my own probably like 80% of the time, which I'm very comfortable with. Our little foothills have some animals, but the most exciting thing I've seen is like a very small bobcat and a couple of brown bears, but they want nothing to do with humans. We have way more deer. So I haven't had any scary wildlife encounters. I haven't seen mountain lions on trail, but I do know there are a couple around Colorado Springs. If I'm going to be up in like the high mountains, the biggest concern usually is weather more than wildlife and animals. So it's usually just making sure that I'm down off the top of the mountain by early afternoon before lightning and storms roll in. Especially in springtime, it can change from being, 75 and sunny to hail and snow in no time. So that's the biggest thing that I contend with. But then cell phones have come so far.
Yeah.
You always are.
I was watching I was watching a special on UTMB, and they talk about like a lot of microclimates through that course. Do you experience that at the elevation and through Colorado and things, or is that more over where UTMB is?
Mine's pretty predictable. It's usually just based off of elevation gain. So I know if I'm going high into the mountains to have like some warm weather gear, and then usually coming back down is pretty safe.
Okay. So you're in Colorado Springs, and then you're an ER physician. On top of everything we're talking about, you're an ER physician. And that I got to imagine that helps kind of balance out the stress of the day for you from running to going into the ER. Do you feel like that gives you balance between those two things?
Definitely. Running is always like my happy, safe, my preparation for my shift, or on days when I have off, my like reward to myself. So running and I have always had like a pretty good relationship in the sense that it's something that I'm always like looking forward to. It's my decompression time. It's my time to be outside and enjoy where we live before I have to go in and deal with whatever's going to come in the ER that day.
Are you mostly running before your shift? Do you run a little before and after, especially when you're like in a training cycle for like a longer race?
Ideally before. A lot of my shifts start like middle of the day or afternoon, so that's a really nice time to get in a big workout. And then on days when I'm off is usually when I'll get my like 2 a days or try to do something more hefty. Especially when we were training for Leadville, I would run in the morning and then my husband and I would hike in the afternoon, which was awesome just to work on fatigue resistance and doing something together.
Oh, that's nice. Is he more of support active, or is he involved in the craziness of the things that you're doing?
He's getting way more involved every second, which is good and bad, I think, for both of us. Initially, it was kind of just like what I did as my hobby, but now like we're both pretty into it, which is fun. He's a big mountain biker, so a lot of times we choose our
Okay.
routes based off of somewhere where we can start at the same trailhead, which works out really well.
Yeah. Before you went to, I have a question because being in medicine in the medical world, I want to pull up one more thing here. So I saw this come across. Let me know when you can see it. And it's from your Pikes Peak race. And in the comment, it says, "This weekend, I'm excited to take on the Pikes Peak Marathon. Took a hard fall on Sunday and couldn't bend my knee. Uh, it says, but don't need much flexion to run, right?" Yeah. So my question to you is, do you find that people in the medical profession are terrible at preserving themselves when they're hurt, or to listening to their body when they're hurt?
Well, to be fair, we usually know when we're not like actually too injured to do something. Kind of like when you know when you have like a cold or a flu like illness or like you're actually sick and need to go to the ER. But I was actually living in Cincinnati at the time. So not only was I going to run up and down Pikes Peak, but I was coming from flatland and yeah, my knee was like black and blue and swollen and it went fine. It wasn't anything, it wasn't like a structural injury, it was just some swelling. So it went fine. But I couldn't breathe and holy elevation. 14,100 feet is really, really, really high.
Yeah. And then how high does Leadville get to?
Ooh, Leadville goes, I think, above 13, whatever the summit of
13,
Oak Pass is.
Yeah. I as a physical therapist, I tend to find that not even doctors, but physical therapists, doctors, they're just the worst patients, to be honest. But I think there's a trait, it might be an underlying trait of just being a runner because, you just said, if I say it back to you, you're like, well, my knee was swollen and I really couldn't bend it. And then I ran up to 14,000, ran back down, and my lungs weren't great because I'm not used to elevation. So if you put that all out there in the universe, you might be like, oh, maybe I'm part of that group. But I'm there many times of things that I probably shouldn't do, and then I end up doing it anyways. You're in Boulder, and then I think right in like 2021 to 2024, from when I was reading, is you started racking up some wins. Colorado, Utah, you won Javelina 100. I think that's coming up, or is that not? I'm not sure. But
Halloween weekend. So yeah, it happened
okay, so it's
last October, but it'll come again.
Gotcha. So compared to your first 50 miler, it's your birthday, you end up winning, and then this one you won outright, I believe. So are you dialing in at this point? Are you still a little loose shooting from the hip, or like what's changing from that first 50 miler to this 100K? That's a big race. It's well known in the ultra community. Like what's changing in your approach, or are you still just kind of powering through and running in gym shoes, or what's going on?
Gotten way smarter as far as gear goes. I have like appropriate footwear and that sort of thing, but it's also like the training ground in which I live. So our house is at 6,000 feet, and then around me are trails and mountains. So I'm doing way more trail running, way more endurance training, like necessarily if I want to or not. And then there's some really awesome trail runners who live here. And one of the first people I met when I moved to Colorado Springs, she is a professional runner for Adidas. At the time, she wasn't, so I was just running a couple times a week with her. So now it's fun that, I have some really fast friends to run with. It makes time go by really quickly.
I think that during this time, too, you founded Mountains to Mountains, or co-founded Mountains to Mountains.
Yeah, so that was actually a friend of mine from when I was a med student. She was a resident. She's a wilderness trained physician, and she works at the University of Utah. And it was her and another of her friends who's a mental health provider decided that we needed something more and different to do with wilderness medicine and disaster preparedness. And so this was their brainchild. And then they talked to me about coming on in like a directorship role and as the medical director of the Western medicine part of it.
So can you trying to Like how does it work, or what's kind of the is it training people in these communities that don't have access, or how does it work?
Yeah, the plan is to be a hybrid. We'll see how much networking we're able to do, but at this point, it's bridging mountain communities in preparing for medical events and disaster response. So we have a group of American trained physicians and mental health providers. We offer a course in wilderness medicine and mental health. So we can do a 2-hour course or a weekend course where we get people the basic skills for basic life support and scene safety and what to do in these sorts of situations. And then it's also a cooperative. So these communities that we go into have been living in really remote and challenging areas forever. And their understanding of what health is like and wellness is like and how they emotionally react to floods and fires and that sort of thing. Our Western group gets a lot of knowledge and wisdom from them. And then hopefully in the future we'll have something like a consulting service where when there is an event or there is a patient who may need transport, that they're able to reach out to a physician in like the mainland area and discuss whether or not they need to evacuate someone or if they have the skills and tools to be able to care for them at site.
Is there good access like remotely into these areas where like you're doing like telehealth services or anything like that?
Not yet. So the hope
Okay.
would be to get that sort of thing, but it's really challenging when you don't have a network or you don't know enough people or have providers, because how else do you get that expert opinion?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking, is there, so let me kind of take a step back. 'Cause I'm interested in this just because, just from a medical standpoint, it's global, or is it more continental United States, or is it both, or?
It is global. We have a few partner communities. One is Raincold, Alaska, and then Claudia, the physician who founded it, has connections in India and Nepal, and then a couple other places around the world. So the goal eventually will be to take the course and the program to a wide variety of different places.
Yeah, I wonder if things will change a little bit too. Is you get like you think like Starlink, where you don't need a lot of infrastructure and you can get internet into places and be able to connect a lot better versus having to run fiber optic across the country to get to places.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to kind of go into the Leadville lead up a little bit and talk about that. So was the plan always to run the 100, or was it not to run the 100?
There was not a plan to run the 100 until like late July. So I had signed up for the Leadville Trail Marathon because we love going up to the Leadville area. Buena Vista, Leadville are amazing in the summer. They're beautiful, but they're not quite as hot as the rest of the state. So my husband and I planned to take our van. I would run the marathon while he biked, and then we would go on. But the way that Leadville works is that if you do well at an event, or you can win a coin through a raffle, then you can win entry into future races like the 100. At the marathon, I actually won entry into the 100, but didn't think that I was interested at that time. And then I ran the 50 instead and won an entry, and then I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and then the 100 happened.
Is the Silver Rush 50, is that a Leadville event series?
Yes.
Okay. So you win that one, you get entry, and you have the option to go in. So July 25, that's a month before the 100?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like you do the 50. Are you like, how does your body respond? I'm curious on how your body responds. Like, are you shutting it down for a week or two? Are you like, no, like I'm pretty good because all the time on my feet, or just thinking through, there's various levels depending on how hard you push in some of those things, and you won. So I imagine you're pushing a little bit and you're probably competitive. So like, you can say you're going to take it easy and then you don't, and it's elevation. So like, are you coming out of that being like, oh, I feel pretty good and maybe I should use this as a training event, or I'm just curious on how that works.
I think the worst I've ever felt was after my first 50. So I kind of expected to feel
The gym shorts and gym shoes. Yeah,
it's also on slick rock, which is very, very punishing to your legs and your muscles. So I finished running 50 miles on slick rock, and I could not bend my legs. Like I could not squat. Everything just hurt. I felt terrible. But after the 50, I was tired, like body tired, but nothing felt broken. And I mean, my husband made fun of me. He's like, that's so annoying. I was like, I feel like pretty good between footwear and nutrition and like being prepared for it. I didn't feel that bad, which was probably also the dangerous part of me wanting to do more and longer and kind of figure out where the limit was.
Leading up to your 50, like what's your long run leading up into that race? Are you getting into like, you had the marathon before that, but were you getting into 40 mile runs? Are you know your lower volume? How many days a week you're running? I'm just curious on that.
Yeah, I run about every day. The summer is so nice here that usually if I go for a group run with a couple of my friends, the distance is like 12 to 18-ish. Most like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays when all of us have a little time off. So I think probably my longest run was the trail marathon, but then I did at least 1 or 2 a week. That was in like the 15 to 20 range.
And total volume for the week, like you got to be
Not very
pushing
high.
up towards,
Probably like 60 to 80. Yeah.
and then cross training, strength.
I gravel bike some.
Oh, gravel bike. What about strength training, that kind of stuff?
I try to go to the gym twice a week.
Try. Keyword. All right, so you do the 50, and then you're gonna do this 100. From what I understand, haven't done 100 yet. I got talked out of putting in for Leadville this year because we had a family vacation, and I said, well, it's gonna be right through taper, so it's gonna be fine. I'll just taper through vacation and do Leadville. I got nixed, but we're gonna come back to that with my wife at some point and try to get in. But so you're going up to Leadville. You have the 50 under. How do you approach the training different? Because my friend that does the 50s and 100s, he's mentioning like it's a whole different beast. It's like half Ironman, full Ironman. They're way different than each other. And it's your first 100. So you're just like, what is it like going from the 50-mile distance to the 100-mile distance for you?
Yeah, the 50 miler was, I think, 3 weeks before. So it was actually like a really good long training run. And then I knew I wanted to do kind of a back-to-back weekend where I did at least like 60 miles in 2 days. And I wanted to go up and over Hope Pass. Because if you've ever heard of Leadville or done Leadville, most of it's pretty runnable. But then at mile 40, you encounter Hope Pass, which is this proper mountain pass. And most people hike up to the summit, and then you have to go down the back side and then back up and over. So I did that as one of my long training runs. I think it was about 16 miles, but started flat, ran in, up and over Hope Pass and back. And then once I had experienced it and felt like it was pretty within reach, I just tried to do a really long, hard day the next day as well, and as much time on my feet as I could handle.
Yeah. There's some good documentaries. I think David Roach came in first the year that you did it, and you were behind him. And then he had a whole docuseries when he ended up, I think he broke the record that was long-standing, which you did as well. And watching him go up a whole pass in the documentary was good. And then also Powerline, because Powerline's not a joke either, right? Like that's pretty rough. And he's like, he's clocking like 5-minute miles, but it's not like you're running down a road either. It's like rock and route and all these things.
Yeah, David's incredible. He did not walk a step of Leadville or hike a step. He runs the whole thing, which I hiked much of Hope Pass. So we're a little. For
those that don't know, I think Hope Pass, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's supplied, at the top, it's supplied by like, is it donkeys or is it? Yeah, that's how they get the stuff up there. That's crazy. Yep. So I want to look actually at that. So you did this 50-mile a couple of weeks before. That's kind of like your long training run. You did Hope Pass as a training run. How far are you from Leadville, where you live now?
About 2 hours, 2.5.
Okay, so that's nice.
I have a van though, so it's pretty nice.
Does it have a TV?
No TV. No, it's a Sprinter, but it has like a bed. I thought you were stuff, so I can like cook and.
I thought you were playing homage to like your dad's van that you got earlier on.
Astro van. Okay.
Wood panel. I'm picturing wood panels.
It was like a green Astro van, so it had like the captain's chairs, which were also really nice.
Yeah, nice. So you're just taking the van up, you're sleeping in the van, you're running and maybe coming home, maybe just using the van for the most part, and just living out of it when you do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Great. So I want to look at this. I have a lot of questions that I'm really curious about, but so these are your splits. I'm just curious at first blush, like if you reflect back on the day as a whole. So you broke the women's record, which stood for like 31 years. But when you look back at this, are you like, ooh, like I'm looking at like the May Queen out. Are you like, oh, I went out a little hard there? Or are you like, no, I think I actually handled this very well throughout this entire thing? Or would you change something different when you look at these splits and how things went?
I wouldn't change them. Actually, I felt like I was being very conservative at the first part. You start at 4 a.m.,
Hmm.
so it's really, really dark, and I was mostly concerned about like tripping on a root or falling, and so I felt like I was going very conservatively at the start. And it's pretty flat. The first part is it's very runnable. You're getting out of town around Twin Lakes and
Hmm.
heading out toward the mountains. So yeah, no, I was not in the lead any of those first four until um, almost Twin Lakes.
Okay. And then I'm assuming you have more of a crew now than your first 50 miler, which was your mom. Maybe she's still it. So who are you taking with you at this point? I'm curious too, like as a physician, um, are you is do you have a physician coming with you, or are you like, no, like that's the best to keep those people on the sidelines because they're gonna know too much, or like what does your crew look like for support like this?
Yeah, so my crew was my husband, my good friend Hannah, her husband Gil, who was actually my only pacer, and then I invited two of my other friends up. So the crew was pretty great. They were lots of good vibes, plenty of snacks.
Hmm.
Hannah was the running brains behind the operation because she's run 100 miles and she's like super skilled. James was there as like my personal support and anything I needed, he was able to help with. And then
Yeah, are
no
you like
physicians. I would bring my
no?
physician friends. It's not that I'm against that, but I mean, David Roach's wife is a physician.
Yeah.
The guy who got third, he's also an internal medicine doctor. So there are plenty of doctors around if I needed their opinion.
Yeah, gotcha. The your husband's out there with you. I gotta imagine that's not the easiest thing to be a spouse during this situation either. Like, what's that conversation like? Does he have to flip a switch in like from husband mode to like support mode, or is he like how does that how is the entire event on him?
He was awesome. For him, it was like he's like a big sports guy, and so it was just like another
Hmm.
big sporting event. He was all in. It was awesome. Leading
Tailgating.
up to it, there were a lot of conversations about like, but why do you want to do this? But what if you get hurt and then hate running? Is this going to be worth it? How much time is
Hmm.
this going to take? What are the expectations on us and our family? So those conversations were much harder. Once it was like time to go, he was awesome. He was so excited.
Do you guys have conversations on like when so much I feel like can go wrong on these, but like as someone who's driven, you might be like, yeah, well, that's not happening. Is there like any conversations on this is the safe word where like you sit me down and we're done, or is that don't even put that into the universe? We're just gonna go for it and we'll handle things as they come.
Yeah, I think he trusts me a good amount. And Leadville's incredible in the sense that if I would have had to walk the last half, that like probably would have been okay. You're allowed to finish until 10 a.m. the next morning. So you have like 26 hours to complete the race. So even if I had to hike for a few hours, I was pretty sure I was going to want to get it done.
Do you ever, as a physician out there, like there's you, and then there's all the everyone else, and it's out and back, so you're coming back, and some people probably aren't going to be feeling so hot. Do you ever like not going to see what's going on there, and you just keep running, or like are you just zoned in? You're just running ahead. I mean, you got to see some zombies and things as you're doing some of these events.
I think I'd be more nervous for like honestly a local 5K than for a Leadville. Most people who have agreed to like take on Leadville, they are ready to take on Leadville. I think
Hmm.
I'd be more scared for like the couch to 5K crowd, honestly.
Yeah, doing a sprint and then haven't done anything in a while, and their heart's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. There's a lot of commitments
So
that
you
happen to getting into Leadville, to training, to preparing, to traveling. Most people have self-selected. If they're not ready, they self-select out.
Yeah. The as I'm looking at it, because I there was serious consideration doing this, especially with my friend who did it a couple times, and the going from I'm at 800 feet of elevation, and I take trips out to like Utah and things, and I've been to Colorado, and it doesn't seem, but he's like, there's a whole different level from 7,000 to like 10, and then to go up to 13 and 14 is just entirely different. So that's the thing that I'm weighing the most, but you know, I don't know. What recommendations do you have for someone who lives not at elevation that's going to go to Leadville?
I think if you're able to spend some time in the mountains in the summer, so maybe like 3 weeks ahead of time, spend a week out there. There's not a lot of great data about if it's best to show up like the night before or a couple days before to try to acclimatize, but it's really hard. You need like 3 months really for all of your red blood cells to be excited about training at elevation. But I think at least spending a week or so within the month ahead of time is like a huge help.
Yeah. So I think what I've heard is like live high, train low too is a good motto, but I'm doing both at low. So that'd be something to figure out at some point. At what point during this race how did you find out, or how did you learn that you were on course record pace? And then did that change like mindset, like, oh, I better hustle a little bit more? It's only mile 98. Like I'm going to hustle a little more. Or how did you find that out? Was it from pacer? Was it from the course? Did they let you know? How did it go?
Yeah, I did not know that I was within like the course record until like the last 2 miles. And it was when I came upon the runner who was in third. I knew him and his pacer pretty well. And his pacer is like very statistical and analytical. And he was the one that was telling me like, it's exactly this far to the road. Once you hit the road, it's, a mile and a half to the finish. Have 12 minutes. If you like can get there ahead of time, then you'll get the record. And then I was so ready to be done, and I was so ready for the finish that
I'm sure
I was ready to kick it in, which is not what I wanted to do at the end of that race, but I felt like I had it in my legs, and so I was able to get it done.
Nice. Were you aware of the record going into this? Did it cross your mind? I'm like, ooh, I wonder if I can do that, or was it like, oh my God, I'm in the position to do this, and I'm gonna go get it? Or was it like something you weren't even focused on?
I was definitely not focused on it. I was aware of it because last year Mary Denholm had come pretty close. She came within, I think, 5 minutes of the record, which is awesome. It's the closest anyone had been in a very long time. And obviously I know who Ann Trayson is and how incredible she is. But I didn't think that I was going for the record when I started, or even like the first 3/4 of the race.
Yeah. So you were the first woman to go under 18 hours at Leadville. And as a recap, that goes up to 13,000. I think you mentioned it starts at 9 or 10,000 feet of elevation, goes up to 13, then you go down, then you go back up, then you come all the way back down, out and back. You finish second overall. And then when you said like, oh, I'm going to go pick it up, I'm going to run this thing in, do you know what you were averaging at that point? Because you're 98 miles into a race. And when you say pick it up, what does that mean?
I'm not certain how fast our last mile was, but it definitely felt like it was somewhere in like the 7 or 8-ish range. But yeah, it's on the road. You're just running back into town, and it was pretty epic. There were lights everywhere and people cheering. It was pretty cool.
Nice. So you finished that, and we're going to talk about what came next. But you finished Leadville. You mentioned, I think the one. Was it the 50 miler you felt really terrible on, or was it the Leadville marathon that was really rough on your legs the next day?
Well, that was the first 50 I did back in Dead Horse. So you're done with Leadville, 100. You set the course record. Like, what's the status of the body? I was just really tired. Luckily our Airbnb was right in town, and so I think I just like hobbled home, took a shower, and went to sleep. I felt overall just body tired. I had a few places that were more sore than others, but it was just really wanting to like sleep and eat and rest for a while.
I'm imagining like down the stairs backwards, shuffling a little bit. I got to imagine that's the case, right? Like it's not like,
there's a lot of shuffling.
Here we go.
Yeah. Stairs were not as bad as I thought they would be, because I guess there's not like
Really?
a terrible amount of pounding down. So my quads were okay. I could kind of go up and down the stairs. But yeah, there was a lot of just taking it really easy.
How long did it take you to kind of come around and feel like, how quickly did you go back to work? Because you stand all day and you're walking a lot. Did you go back to work I heard it was like in 2 days.
It was Monday, yeah.
Oh.
I only have so many requests off in the summer. It's really hard. So
you went back to work.
Monday,
movement's good, right? So movement's good. And like, why is my doctor limping? Like, you drop a pen, you're like, who's going to pick that up for me? I
was doing a shift in like our triage area, which is just like fast tracks type stuff. So I'd already talked to my scribe. I was like, if I can't walk on Monday, you just have to like push me around and we'll see everyone. But if I can't walk, you're helping.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed, I was going through photos for Leadville, and you looked like you look good. Like you're smiling at most of them. You're giving the thumbs up. It's like, this is not a 100-mile race. Like, what is this lady doing? Like, are there dark spots for you during that race, or did you legitimately be like, all right, I feel good. There's so much talk about you go through these really dark patches and you come out of them, and any of that, or smooth?
There were definitely some cloudy patches. I don't think anything was like soul crushingly dark. Some parts were
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Like running through Twin Lakes is so much fun. It's so loud. It's just roaring with people. So that was like really exciting. But then some of the climbs when you're all on your own were a little more dark, but each had their own challenge. It wasn't like anything kept going wrong. I was really lucky that my stomach was fine. Some people just had like terrible GI upset the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But that felt good. And so that was really helpful.
Have you had, up until this point, have you had any really dark spots, or have you managed those pretty well, either mentally or just, you know, been okay to this point? Or have you really gone to like the pain cave and been like, I gotta talk myself through this, or I just gotta keep stepping until I'm out of it?
A little of both. I think the first time I ever tried to DNF was actually just like a Boulder road marathon. My hamstring was
Mm-hmm.
hurting. I could barely run. I wanted to drop out, but there's nowhere to drop out. So I just kept walking back toward Boulder, and then I was jogging back toward Boulder, and then I finished up running, and it went okay.
Came in first place. Yeah.
Third.
Oh, that's funny. When you're getting through those dark patches, do you just barrel down and get through it, or like even the cloudy ones, or do you like just say, like, what's going through your head at that point? Like, I'm knowing just from like marathoning and things, you can go through these patches too, and they're a little bit more pain. You're running faster, so there's some pain, but you can fight through them and the race is over. These you fight through and you come through and you start feeling it good again. But what do you do to work through those patches on your end?
I think it's a lot of bargaining with myself. So I have a bunch of rewards throughout, especially like a long ultra where you know you're going to be able to like take a gel in a certain amount of time, or you know that there's a feature coming. Like, so for instance, in Leadville, you know that it's only like, another quarter mile to the top of this climb. And then you have like some beautiful flowy descent, or you know that you're going to get back to Twin Lakes. And at Twin Lakes, you get to see your crew. And so it's just really these more manageable goals within the course of the whole race rather than start to finish. So I think that's mostly what I was looking forward to.
Yeah. Do you ever reflect on patients? I mean, you're in the ER and you're in a very active place. So I'm sure people are coming in after bike spills and things, and that completely changes their life. Maybe not, but do you ever think about, that aspect of like, I get to be out here, because like things can go terribly wrong. Like pushing through from that. Do you ever reflect on like patients that you see that maybe are super active, or even those that aren't, that have lost function and like they kill to be out there, running with you?
Definitely. And that's why something like Leadville is so incredible, because it's just a huge, big adventure in the mountains. Like, you get to be out there all day, for a lot of people, all day and all night. But the stuff that happens is bad, but like, you can take a break, you can change your shoes, you can eat, you can do all these things to kind of support yourself. But yeah, running ultras is just the best big adventure.
Yeah, I'm at a point. So I've been doing marathons for a while. I had two kids. I took a little break. I'm coming back. I'm in my 40s now, so things, working through those things. And my whole point of going towards, I've done some 50 milers, but I was telling my wife I want to do to 100. I'm like, I just want an adventure. Like, I don't want to care about time. I want to go out and run and just explore an area. And she's like, you just probably want to run. I think you just want to run slow and eat sandwiches. I'm like, well, that's part of it probably, but it's just like a whole different, less pressure environment. Even, just the community itself just seems less pressure than, marathoning and shorter distances.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't compare two ultras. They're all so different. You can compare only like the times of the people who are racing that day, because there's always other elements that come into play. So yes, it's way more like split focused and time focused, and way more just achievement of getting it done.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect segue into like, you can't compare two ultras, because then you get done with Leadville, you're going back to work. And then did you mention how long it took you to come back around? Like, how long until you started running again?
I think I was doing like 3 miles a day, probably 4 or 5 days after, just to kind of like move slow, get some body movement, get some blood flow to the muscles that wanted to get repaired.
Mm-hmm. Do you like incorporate massage or anything, or you just kind of active movement and get back out there in nature?
Yeah, more movement. We have a hot tub, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So at what point do you decide, oh, I'm going to go run Tunnel Hill 50 miler after running this 100? Is that quick on its heels, or is it, maybe I'll try it and it's a month later?
I was really ready for the season not to be over, so I was trying to
Hmm.
pull something else to do. I didn't know like distance wise what I was necessarily looking at. I was actually signed up to run the Indianapolis Marathon, which was the same day as Tunnel Hill. I was gonna fly back to Cincinnati, see my family, hang out for a while, and then just run the race on Saturday or Sunday. And then I started looking deeper and realized that Tunnel Hill was the same weekend and only about 2 hours further drive. So I talked to Steve Durbin, the race director, about wanting to get into the 50, and he helped make it happen.
Nice. So you went there and you broke the 50-mile world record. Let me pull up the splits for this thing. You seem like so even. Like so many people
That
are like,
one
oh,
was
I went
much
out so hard.
easier
Even
to
in,
be even on with the 50 miler because it's flat,
yeah.
it's predictable. There's not mountain passes to go over.
But there's still like that aspect, like you talk to a lot of runners and like, oh, I went out too hard. Even at the professional level, like went out too hard, or you go out with the pack and then you get in trouble because, you get caught in the pack and you work too hard or something goes wrong. But like super consistent. Like I pulled up your ultra sign up, but if anyone does it, like it's full of greens and it's full of like outright wins and first places, and you hurt yourself and decided you wanted a DNF and you finished third. So you're just super consistent and like look at this. So this is a 50-mile race. You set the world record for the 50-mile distance, and this is after Leadville. How far after at Leadville is this? Tunnel Hill?
Almost 3 months.
Okay. So your first split is 6:21 a mile, and I think it's not on there because I dragged it off, but you ended up at like a 6:23 a mile for the entire race, and the end of it was like a 6:21 as well. So this is, and again, all smiles. Doesn't look like you're hurting. People were saying like she looks like she's not trying at this race. Like, how does this happen?
It was not at elevation. Had brand new super shoes. I had Never Second as my fuel. So all of the things that I needed were there and they were done right. And then, yeah, I just felt great that day. The first marathon felt amazing. And then there were some harder parts later on, but it felt, I mean, nothing makes a 100-mile race feel easier than a 5-hour 50 miler, right? So 5 hours
Right.
on feet was awesome. It was done by like noon.
So when you went into this race, what was the goal for this? Were you chasing this, or it was on your
So
mind and you weren't going for it, but you kind of were, or what?
yeah, I wasn't sure. So Courtney Olson, who held the record the year before me, she had broken Ann Trayson's record, I believe, the year before. And so she held the world record at the time. I knew she was going to be there. The rumor was Des Linden was supposed to be there as well. So there were going to be a lot of really fast women there. And I knew for a fact that I can run, even like I don't wear a watch very often, but when I'm training at home and I do a road loop, it is like 7-minute miles almost all of the time. No matter how I'm feeling, it's just kind of like where my body runs. And so I felt like on a day where I had good nutrition, good weather, good shoes, no altitude, that I could probably do 6:30s. That just seemed like equitable math. And I knew that if Des was going to be there, that's what she was going to go out at, was about 6:30. So that's what I was hoping for.
Did she end up running? I didn't check on this. Did she end up running with you
No.
from the start?
So she ended up doing New York City Marathon the weekend before
Okay.
with like Brooks. There was some big like promotional thing. So she didn't make it to the 50 miler, which was disappointing. But no, I was all by myself the whole time. The first mile was very uncomfortable because there were so many fast women there, but no one went out very fast. So I think my first mile was actually one of my slowest. I was just ready to go. And then after that, I just decided that I was just going to run.
Yeah. So you ran. Are you music or no music in your runs?
I did not use any music on that race.
Traditionally, do you run with music, or you're like a running mecca of the world where it's beautiful? So like, are you just observing the world, or do you run with music ever?
I do a mix of things. So I love music. That's usually my reward to myself. So I try to listen to something like a medical podcast, or if I have to think about something, get my thinking done. And then for like the last couple of miles is when music gets to come in.
Okay. So if you ran 5:18 for the 50-mile distance, average pace 6:23, even split. So if you're listening to this, it's flat even. I'm trying to think when I did my 50, like I'm listening to a book and things, and I just we did it through January in Buffalo's winter, but it was dead flat, super icy. But I just listened to a book for like 8 hours and finished it. Like, when you're running this, are you just do you think about anything? Or are you just going through the motions? Like, what happens for 5 hours in your brain if you're not with music?
I think about a lot of things. I probably thought about 100 different topics, but then I also am like very often doing math. So like, how far is it to the next aid station? How far is it between these two things? What time am I at? How long is that going to take? So there's a lot of like calculations that happen, which are kind of distracting, but also very helpful.
Do you find, this is from personal experience, do you find your math ability gets worse as the race goes on? Or like you just make like, oh my God, like that is not even close to being right? Or are you good with it?
I think I was okay for this one. Because yeah, I remember toward the end thinking about like trying to calculate like how fast I had to run the last 10 miles in order to be able to get under the record and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's funny. Like certain times I'm okay. Like I did, I went to Berlin this year. It didn't go well. It was warm, whatever. Yeah, it was a great experience. I didn't get to see the course at all because I was too worried about tripping and it was just rough. So I came back and I just jumped into another marathon, which I tell people not to do, which is revenge race. But I got in another one and my goal was to go out, break 3 hours and come home. And my wife was tracking me from afar and I knew to the second, like, oh, I'll be okay. I'm going to come in like 20 seconds fast, but I know I'm going to be okay. She's like sweating it out. And like seeing me like he's not going to make it, and I'm like I have 20 seconds, which when you're a couple K out, you're like, oh, this is easy. But then I have races where my math is terrible. Like I did Chicago, and I'm like, I had to do a sidestep around someone that stopped, and I felt something tweak in my Achilles. The race was awful from that point. And at mile 16, I'm like, I have 8 to go. And then when it came around, like, oh, you don't have 8 to go. It's like, oh my God, like I feel like my math ability is very suspect, especially as I get tired. But kudos to you if you can keep all those numbers going. I don't know, my brain just turns to mush.
I think I'm usually thinking like 3 miles, 2 miles, 1 mile, 3 miles, 2 miles, 1 mile, or something like that. I'm not doing like calculus.
Yeah, well, either am I. I had to do what is 26 minus 16, and I came up with 8 at Chicago.
Close.
Yeah, give or take
a couple.
Yeah, when I did the Canadian race, or the race when I came back from Berlin, it was in Canada, so it was in kilometers. So I had to convert it, and I did better with that than I did when I was doing like the miles in Chicago. So I was like, there's no rhyme or reason for it. I don't know. It is a mess. But so you get through this, you run by yourself, you finish. What point do you know, like, hey, I'm going to break this record, I'm going to finish? You pretty much, I imagine you're feeling good throughout. Do you feel like at halfway you're like, hey, I'm going to go double this up and I'm good? Or did you feel like you have to push towards the end? Or where was your mindset?
Sure how the second half was going to feel. I knew I was going to be fine through like 50K, which is 30 miles. But then I thought it was going to be pretty kind of uncomfortable or challenging for somewhere within the last 20. I knew it was going to be feeling less good, but it was hard, but it wasn't like terrible.
Yeah. Are you doing the similar like 60 to 80 grams an hour throughout that race, and that's what you're sticking to?
I stuck with gels and bottles, and there was an aid station about every 5 miles, and I would grab a gel and a bottle, and it was perfect.
No pacer or anything for that, just straight you?
I did not have any pacers. I don't know if they allow pacers for the 50 miler there. They may for the 100, but it was a USATF event, and so there were like weird stuff that I didn't want to break. There may have been a no headphones policy as well. I don't know.
Yeah, crew or no crew?
My mom came with me, so she crewed.
Oh, she's full circle. She came to the first one, and she came to not your last one, but your last one you probably run.
We were in the hotel the night before, and I was putting GPS coordinates into her phone. And I was like, you push this one, and then you push this one. But she did awesome. She crushed it. Yeah.
Did do any of your parents run, or anyone else in your family run?
They're both very athletic. They're not big runners any longer. Like my dad used to run, my mom as well, but now she bikes more and swims and stuff like that.
Okay. So you finished that race. Is that similar recovery? Do you feel like things compound for you? Like you did the 100, then you come back and do a 50, and it's not like you're like getting through these races. So Do you feel like those effects compound and you kind of shut it down for a little bit, or I imagine you're back to work pretty quick and then you're back to running pretty quick, but how do you feel like your body's responding after doing the 100 and then the 50?
Yeah, I think I was totally recovered by the time I did Tunnel Hill after Leadville. And then recovering from Tunnel Hill was not that bad. It was more of like a marathon recovery where it's like a couple days you don't feel very good. You don't run long or hard for a week or 10 days. And then I felt like I was good.
Do you ever think you'll go past the 100?
I'm not sure. Right now I want to kind of play more with that distance and see how it goes. But yeah.
How does it work getting in does Leadville get you into UTMB or no? Because it's not one of their sanctioned races.
It does not get you in. You still have to win like stones or an entry. My UTMB index is pretty good right now, but I don't know if that'll get me in for this 2026 or not.
Okay. Is it on the radar though? It sounds like it is based on your tone.
So is Western States. So I'm signed up for Black Canyon 100K in February, which has an insane start list. It's going to be incredibly skilled and incredibly fast. But that's a golden ticket race. And then I'm going to try to do Canyons, which is in Auburn in April, and kind of see how those go and see if that gives me a Western States bid or not.
Okay. And I think is the top 3 that get a golden ticket into Western States at Black Canyon. Cool. So that's all on the kind of the punch list for 2026?
Yeah, so far. I'll definitely do at least 100. So if it's Western States or if it's back to Leadville or like a world record attempt at Tunnel Hill, there will definitely be 100 on my schedule. And then hopefully a few more like 50K, 100K type races.
So you mentioned targeting the world record at the 100 at Tunnel Hill? I'm
not sure. No commitment to that yet. I've only done 100 in my whole life. But I don't know. I'm very curious about it. Because hers was like 723. I'm like,
That's it. I mean, gauging on everything else, why not? It's very exciting to see. On your training side, you're uncoached, I think, or do you have a coach now? No. So, do you have like a philosophy that you follow for that? You're not super high volume, and that's fine and it works. But do you structure workouts? Are you reading? Are you learning? How are you figuring out the right mix for you and how to put that into practice?
Yeah, so the internet is fantastic for training plans. I don't feel like I need them as closely as I did when I was doing like my first 50K and my first 50 miler. I relied pretty heavily on at least what the expectation was for the high mileage weeks. Now I do structure some stuff. Like when I was training for Tunnel Hill, it's not that challenging to figure out what the mile split looks like. And so I was trying to make sure that I was hitting like low 6s for a 5-mile workout or a 3x1 workout and then some before and after. So I do workouts a bit like that. I'll try to do some hills or some vert every week. And then usually I just like kind of see how my body feels. So I don't make myself do any workout on a particular day, which I think is pretty helpful and good for preservation.
Yeah, you're not structuring like, oh, today's a tempo day, today's a interval day, today's a super easy day. Do you structure it like that, or you're more loose?
More loose.
Yeah, that's like the ultra mindset. Like you get like the road runners are like, I have everything in a sheet, and this is exactly to the second the pace I have to run. But I gotta imagine for you, like especially going out and running out the back door into the mountains, like you're gonna. The pace might not be there, but your efforts going to threshold and tempo workouts, and then you're hitting the downhills. And so you're just working those things in naturally because you have to run up the side of a mountain to get there. But it's always interesting. I just talked to someone else and they were very loose on their training as well. And they're doing ultras. And it seems like such a different switch for people from the like marathon, like that know every little second and every little thing. And then like the ultra community is like, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go on an adventure. That's like the mindset.
It's very true.
So you have all these accomplishments. You've won Leadville. You have the world record for the 50-mile distance. You're going on to all these things. You have a nonprofit you're involved with. Is there things outside of running that get you excited of what's coming next or what you're looking forward to or where you think you're transitioning to? Or is it all focused on running right now and checking off some goals on that list, or are there other things that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I have definitely some life goals that are happening this year as well. I like to ski. My husband and I backcountry ski a whole lot. He's going to be gravel racing a lot more this year, so mountain biking, but the safer version. So I'm excited to be his crew for one of those races. And then in the next couple of years, we're ready to expand our family. This year's going to be pretty running focused, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Are you fully trained on like measuring like the snowpack and all of that stuff when you're going out? I assume you are, like
We're
if
pretty
you're going out
safe.
backcountry skiing.
There's apps now, so it'll tell you. You can look at the rows, which is like north, south, east, west, and then you can look at the slope, and it'll tell you like the safety of it. So we know we don't go out when it's like red. We go out to the pretty safe, mellow, low angle areas. And there's a lot of what we call slack country. So once the resorts get enough snow, you can take a lift up and still ski some backcountry, and it's very safe.
Oh, nice. Do you you mentioned about expanding your family and probably packing them up in that van and bring it full circle for you. When you think about that, I do my best not to push my kids towards running. They have no interest. How do you feel like you'll handle that as far as like trying to nudge towards running, or is it just gonna be like an outdoors family? Like we're going skiing, I'm gonna sweat, put your boots on, and then you're gonna tell me you have to go to the bathroom. And is that kind of the vision for you?
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever encourage them into one sport or another. I didn't like running that much until I was like well in my mid-20s. So yeah, no, I don't think I'll push them into a particular activity, but I think there will be kind of whether you like it or not, like you're part of our family, and so this is what we do. You can do it as fast as you want to, but you're going to enjoy it. So
yeah,
that's
exactly the motto we have.
I have a 17-year-old stepson, and he's always up for everything. So yeah, he sleeps in the van with us, and then we have a 3-year-old nephew who will come and play. So I think we're doing a good job at like training our next generation to just enjoy being out in the mountains.
Awesome. I'm excited to see how you do. I hope your mom's in tow with you, and you can set up her GPS for you. And then with your husband, you know, obviously he's got a great teammate with now that you're going to be crewing him a little bit. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me. And you can go out and you can get some skiing in now, and have a great weekend, and take that van up and start skiing.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Early Miles. This podcast is ad-free and made possible by the runners who support the RunSmart app. RunSmart is a training platform built by physical therapists who run with an injury prevention first approach. Inside the app, you get personalized running plans, strength and mobility work designed specifically for runners, and guidance that adapts to your life, training, and body change over time. RunSmart's mission is simple: to build lifelong runners. If you're looking to train smarter and support the show, you can download the RunSmart app to get started. And a quick but important note, this podcast is for general educational and informational purposes only. Nothing discussed here should be considered medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional regarding injury, pain, or any medical condition. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on Early Miles.